Welcome to the Top 200 podcast with your host, Herschel Foran.
What's up, everybody? This is Herschel Foran from High School Top 200, and this is the Monday morning meeting. Welcome everybody back from this long weekend. Happy Matariki weekend, or however you say it, because I don't honestly know how to say it. But yeah, it's been a great weekend. Great games all week. It's been pretty cool in terms of the way that everybody sort of switched around their games and chopped it up a little bit. That, you know, we got a bit of games, you know, every single day. There was always something to watch and something to go to. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. Everybody's been getting over the flu. Everyone's getting back to normal health. All those kind of things that go into sort of first 15 rugby and everything that's going on. But yeah, big week. I went to a few games this week. Obviously, I went to Rotorua and Hamilton Boys, also fielding in St. Paul's. And I'm so sorry that I freaking got all those, I guess, all the scoring wrong. The St. Paul's one, I have an excuse. I finished at 8 o'clock in the morning. Finished work at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't go to sleep. I pretty much stayed up, went straight to the game, and that's my excuse for that. I was so wasted, but Saturday I don't have an excuse. I was just engulfed in the game, to be honest. Such a good game, I was just putting the wrong scores on the wrong team. But yeah, good solid games to go to. I also went to Matamata and Te Aomuru. There were a few other games on. I didn't know that Auckland Grammar and Tangaroa were playing. I probably would have went to that one. I think Grammar's probably happy I didn't go to that one. I think this might be Tangaroa's first time beating Auckland Grammar in how many years. Also, what else is there? Sacred Heart winning the massive. Carlson Boys playing with basketball scores. That one was pretty huge, actually. But yeah, pretty good week. Before we go down this sort of what happened this week and talking about the rankings and who's coming up next, all that kind of stuff, I got asked again about giving up top 200 and you know, this being my last year, which it is. This is my last year. The only thing that really can change my mind is New Zealand Rugby, and getting me on board is probably the only thing, because it just leads to better opportunities for the boys and getting more exposure, and also and not for just the boys, like, because I've always talked about wanting to go into doing the girls first 15 rugby as well. And I know I'm not going to do it all by myself, because I can't. It's just too many games, too many teams, too many players, names, coaches, all that kind of stuff. But I know how to set this up. I need someone that's like me, that is willing to put in those hours going to these games and things like that. And this is where I need help from New Zealand Rugby, is that all these things can be done. I know how to direct it. I know how to set it all up. I know how to sort of coach someone through how you start to look at all these games, and in terms of being able to judge rankings and teams and all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. Also, being able to set up camps, more camps, not just waiting around for rep camps to come along, and being able to set up other stuff, and then here's the problem that I have with New Zealand Rugby in terms of camps for this level, at first 15 level, is that they don't have anything. They don't have anything at all. Whereas if it was me and I had funding from them and the approval from them to set these up, I would be able to set it up myself. I would be able to go around the country and set these up for different players and different schools and different positions and all that kind of stuff that comes along with it. Boys and girls, making sure that the girls get enough training themselves and catching up too, because they've been pushed back for so many years when we're so late on starting these girls coming through. So that was like another thing that I really want to get started and hurry up and get this rolling. But this is my last year with it, and all these things that will happen. I mean, again, New Zealand Rugby is the only thing that would probably keep me from giving this up and helping everybody out. And people have asked me, like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with everything that I have? Well, for one, I might just sell off all the information that I have, work with some agencies or work with some universities overseas or some clubs overseas that I can sell my information to and take them through step by step. Because all the things, like, you got to think about all the information I have information from players since 2013 all the way through to now. And not just to now, I have to now, and I got year 12, year 11s, and year 10s, all on my information. So that means that I have the information for the next 3 years as well. And all that stuff I'll probably just sell to someone and go, this is everything that I have. This is, the direction that all these schools are going in, who's going in the right direction, who's not, whose program is thriving, whose program is falling, what these guys need to change, what's wrong with this player, what's wrong with that player, who's got the injuries, all that kind of stuff. And all of that, I have, that information. So, one of the thoughts that I've had is selling it off. The other thought that I've had is to either sell it off to a university or to a rugby union, or because I know that French rugby union, Japanese rugby union, even Hong Kong, and that I talk to regularly, they are looking for boys that come from our part of the world, and that's my worry and threat at the same time is that if I finish this and then I get an opportunity to do this on another level for somebody else or for someone else's country, but do it from a New Zealand perspective and New Zealand players, I'm going to start offering contracts and scholarships to kids from New Zealand and taking them out of New Zealand and taking them over to the other countries. Now, I already do that now, but I still want our All Blacks to be the All Blacks. I still want our rugby in New Zealand to be rugby in New Zealand and the standard that we're at and where we're going to. And so I don't usually approach the best players. But if I'm working for another country, another company, another organization, another union, all these kind of things, you're going to find a lot more players leaving shore if I jump on board with somebody else. Because that's what I'm going to be paid to do. And then that's what I'm going to do. And we all know what that looks like because South Africa has that same problem right now. South Africa has so many boys in first 15 rugby leave for France and leave for Japan or England or Ireland or Scotland because at first 15 level, because the money is better, the opportunity's closer, the opportunity for study is always there. All the things that we don't offer. All the stuff that we don't offer. But it only takes a few years for boys to get used to it. It only takes a few years for boys to get over to these different countries and start building in these different countries, and then they're going to have like 4 years of building off New Zealand players. That New Zealand players are going to go, oh, he went that place. Oh yeah, I'll go there if he's still there, because it means that he's comfortable, means that he's looked after, means that he's got something that's familiar to him. Having Kiwi boys in different areas, having Islander boys in different areas, and you all know the same kind of people, and you all know what things are about, and they can help you out with, like, especially with things like language and stuff, like in France and Japan, that people struggle, especially from New Zealand, to be able to speak French and Japanese, and knowing the culture there and respecting what they do as a culture. You need some of those boys that are here. But if I have this opportunity to do this offshore for other companies or other unions and organizations and scouts and all that kind of stuff, I will move boys to the same clubs and feed them with all our best players, not the second players, not the third players, not the fourth players, but our best players. And it's going to come with money, and that's where the threat is going to be with New Zealand rugby, is the money side of it. Now, people may say, oh, well, that's already happening now, the money's already there, why aren't they moving? It's because they don't have anyone trustworthy to move them. I'm the trustworthy one. I have no stake in any of these guys' futures. In terms of like monetary things, like I don't care about a union that they go to. I don't care what sport that they play. All I care is that they get the best opportunity. Now, if I come with the best opportunity to offer them, usually it's going to be monetary. Because so many of these boys out there that are trying to give back to their families and trying to give them something back, it's going to be monetary. And if I've given that opportunity to offer them an opportunity to do that, 100% they're going to take it. That's why Charles Piutau is not back, or Stephen Luatua, or all of these other guys that have gone over. It's all monetary things, and it's just a way of giving back to their family and making sure that the future is more secure than what they can get here, and that's overseas. And that's what I'm going to do if I get this opportunity overseas, is that I'm going to offer them the same thing, but from someone who's familiar with New Zealand, familiar with first 15 rugby. I mean, remember, I only care about first 15 rugby. I don't care when they go to under 20s. I don't really pay attention when they go to club rugby. I don't pay really that much attention unless they play for the Waikato or the Chiefs, that I pay that much attention to them. I just like to see when they're playing, but I don't actually go into any kind of details like I do at first 15. But at first 15 level, that's where the opportunities come into it, and that's where I'm going to offer offer the opportunities that I can offer them if I am given an opportunity overseas. And that's the danger that comes along with it. Like, I don't want to do that. That's why I haven't moved overseas or anything yet, is I haven't done this. But if I get an opportunity from someone overseas, I'll be doing the same thing. I just won't be passing on information to New Zealand. I'll keep that for myself, or just give it to the ones that I work for. And so that's the danger, and that's what I don't want to happen. But then again, I've got my own family and own opportunities. I thought that I was going to get these opportunities within the first 5 years. And I knew there was going to be a space and time that I had to sort of prove myself, because I'm not an ex-player, I'm not an ex-coach, I'm not an ex-whatever. And New Zealand doesn't know how to make up their mind if someone's good or not. They have to make sure that they've done something first. They can't just go, oh yeah, we'll look at his work and we see him all the time and he's actually proven himself over the years, how every other country does it. Sometimes they don't care what you've done. They go, oh, well, is he doing the work now? I'm doing the work now, and I have been for the last 9 years. And New Zealand still hasn't recognised it, because they're still waiting for him to like, oh, is he going to be an All Black? Is he going to be a coach? Is he going to be a player? It's like, no, I'm too friggin' old and too fat and too... I was like, no, that's not my motivation. My motivation is to help these kids get opportunities, to make sure that they get seen, to make sure that they get talked about, to make sure that the other people in other areas that like their skill set is aware of the skill set that they have, and that they find it through my website. And then they can go, Herschel's right, Herschel's wrong, we want this kid, we want this other kid. That's kind of what it is. Now, instead of New Zealand jumping on board with me and going, oh, cool, we can go along with this, and then even like the little things that they may not like, they could even work with me at it. Like, I've sat down with them before and said, what about taking away this, taking away this? And they just went for it. So when I got asked the question, what would it actually do to New Zealand rugby? If I left and did this somewhere else, it would mean a massive hit to New Zealand rugby from the level where we're finding our talent. Now, it might sound arrogant to you. It might sound arrogant to you, and that I'm coming off like I'm arrogant. But the reason why I say it is because parents don't know where to get the opportunities from. Parents don't know how to ask, how can my son get a contract? How can my son get to this next level? How does my son get a scholarship to another school? Parents don't know how to do that stuff. They don't know who to ask. You can't ask the coach of your current school, how do I get a scholarship to another school? We're just not like that. But if I'm working for someone else, and then all of a sudden a ding comes on your phone, there's a notification that this guy Herschel Fruin's contacting you. That's the opportunity. Whether you like it or not, that's the opportunity. People see me at games. I'll come to the games. I'll talk to parents. I talk to coaches. I'll even find opportunities for coaches. And this is the other thing with New Zealand rugby is that, and this is where I stand up for the coaches of first 15 rugby, and I've had arguments like this with different unions about first 15 rugby coaches. My thing with that is that first 15 rugby coaches do not get the credit they deserve for building up these players within their systems. What happens is that we, the public, see them in the under-18s Waikato, or under-18s Chiefs, or under-18s Blues, or Crusaders, and we go, oh, Crusaders have done a great job. Bloody hell, they haven't. It's not the Chiefs doing it, it's not the Blues doing it, it's not Highlanders or Hurricanes. It's the first 15 coaches putting them through these things. They are the ones building them up week after week, day after day, giving them all these expertise for them to play at a level. And remember that our 17, 18-year-old boys playing first 15 rugby right now are better than most of you club players out there. Because you're still 27, 28, 31, still trying to make the NPC. Some of these boys can come out of high school and do it straight away. Big difference there. And who's the one taking these through them? The high school first 15 coach. The kid has his talent. The first 15 coach molds that talent, tries to get him to where he needs to be to make these rep teams, and then they go to rep teams. They only have rep training, rep teams for 1 week. Those coaches are not coaching them up. Not at all. They're getting them ready for a game. And just a week of training. That's it. Coaches have had kids, like think about Nigel, right? Nigel and Greg at Hamilton Boys have had boys since they were year 11. 3 years of them molding all these boys. Patrick Ailahi's one right now who's year 11. Mac Russ is year 12. They've also got what's his name? Kalis as well, who was there last year, was year 11, year 12 this year. All these guys. Aki Tuivailalo, who was there at year 11, is now year 13. New Zealand secondary schools should be this year. Made New Zealand Barbarians last year. Same thing. Peyton Spencer, same thing. All these guys were there for 3 years. Now that's not coming from the Chiefs. That's coming from Greg and Nigel. They're the ones that are putting in the effort. Not the Blues, not the Chiefs. And wherever Aki decides to go, wherever Peyton decides to go, the credit shouldn't be given to these Chiefs coaches. No, that should go back to Greg and Nigel. That's the confusion for me. Is why don't these guys get that credit? I fight for first 15 coaches 100%. And I've had my favorites of coaches that have come and gone. And then I look and then it's like, oh, they're not really getting anywhere else like after they leave. And I was thinking, well, why not? How can these guys produce New Zealand secondary school players, New Zealand Barbarians players, a high level of, region under 18 players, but then they can't get anything within the union? And then sometimes some of them are not even getting top club rugby jobs. But they're working with better talent. That's something I don't understand. Now, I may be missing something here, and you can tell me if I'm missing something here. But the way that I see it is that you're not getting selected out of club rugby anymore. If you're in club rugby and you're still playing club rugby, they know about you and they've already passed on you because they're looking at someone in first 15 rugby. 100% that's what they're doing. They're coming onto my website, they're looking at my year 11s, and then they're tracking them all the way through. And if you think I'm lying, I have everybody's emails from different clubs and unions jumping on my website every week. And that's the other problem. New Zealand Rugby don't like me, but they use me. Everyone under New Zealand Rugby uses me for my information, which it is there for you to do. But you don't fire back the credit where it deserves. You don't fire back the credit back to these coaches, which they deserve. That's what I don't like about it. Now, when this season is over, I'll decide what I want to do. Because this is the last year. Now, if it was a miracle that they come through with an offer, I don't know. Depends what that offer is. But last year's price is not this year's price. So they got to think about it. And just like that, the Silver Lake deal that New Zealand Rugby just signed, I hope First 15 Rugby gets a bit of that to help them out, so that all First 15s can benefit from it. All these programs can benefit from that kind of stuff. It's hard for First 15 sometimes. Now,
yes, Michael!
one thing that I noticed, you fellas got to bloody put in your mouth guards. Some of you guys got to bring mouth guards. I don't know how many times I've seen, and it's so bloody gross, honestly. I don't know how, and even in this day and age, where we're going through sicknesses, one dude takes his mouth guard out, tries to sneak it to the guy who's running on, and that guy puts it in his mouth. Yo, that's some sick stuff, man. That's so gross. I don't know how you guys do it with COVID, flu, just germs, and it's like, and dudes are just all right with it. How do you guys lose so many mouth guards? I was like, oh, that's so gross. And some of you guys that have mouth guards don't put it in, and then you get put on the bench. You get a yellow card. I don't understand it. It's still happening. I don't get it. But also the guys on the bench, and I've seen this before. I saw this player come off. He played a half and 15, 10 minutes, and 15, 20 minutes into the second half. And him and a few guys come off, and they go and check the bottles, and all of them are empty. And they had a big, water container there for people to fill them up, and none of them had been filled up. And he went through all these bottles, and he got pissed off, chucked one at the ground, and then he started filling up the bottles. And he says to himself, but so everybody could hear, "There's no effing water in these bottles. What are you guys sitting here for?" And him and the dude that just came off started filling up the water bottles. And then, when there was a break, those two guys that were just come off the field ran water bottles on, while the guys that were sitting on the bench, hadn't entered the game yet, just sat there and watched them. Now, there's a responsibility of being a teammate. That's one of your bloody responsibilities. They're not saying you're the water boy. They're not saying that at all. But if you go and fill them up, what they're saying is that you care about your teammates. And then refilling it until you get to go on, that should be your responsibility as a teammate. That's the kind of thing that I don't understand with some of you guys. And this is not the first time that it's happened. I've seen so many guys, and heaps of guys over the years that have, and benches that have just sat there and done. I was like, man, being a teammate is all part of that. If you know you're not starting, at least do your part on the bench. I think there's like a big selfishness about it that guys don't do this to help each other out. And like I said, it's not the first time I've seen it. It's probably not going to be the last time, but at least those that are listening to me now, like, do something about this. Like, help out your teammates. Be of some kind of service or asset if you're just sitting on the bench. Knowing that a break's going to come out, run out some water straight away. Don't, like, sit there and think about it in a daze. It's like, oh, man, what's my missus up to? And, man, I want to save up for these shoes. Oh, I've got to go to work after this and blah, all that kind of stuff. It's like, just run the water out. Be present. Be alert of what you guys need as a team. And be the guy that sort of does it. Looking at what happened over this week, I noticed that there's some pretty bad changes, right? There's some pretty bad wins and losses that happen. One that I really saw that was like a big one was Nelson beating Shirley on the Tuesday, 28-29. And the reason is that the top 4 teams, because that set the standard for these other 3 teams. So Nelson is first, 6-1. St. Thomas is 6-1. Christchurch Boys are 6-1, and St. Bede's is 6-1. And that started that trend to make sure that those other guys won their games. Now, Shirley was the hardest game in that. And these 4 teams sitting at the top, they have got to find a way to suck all this pressure in and hold on to their record, making sure that one stays one. Now, these are the games that's happening. Nelson has got Christchurch College, which is in the quad, which I'm pretty excited for. Rangiora, St. Thomas, St. Bede's, and then Roncalli. Nelson is going to win the Rangiora and the Roncalli game. I think that's a given. Christ College is going to be a hard-fought one because this is quad. It's a bit different. They're both playing away from home. Traveling may be different. But both of those teams could win it. I'm leaning towards Nelson, but Christ could be right there. The St. Thomas and St. Bede's comes one after the other. Now, let's say that they win the Christ College one. They win the Rangiora, but then they drop 2 in a row. That leaves it wide open for these other teams. Because St. Thomas has the hardest one, I think. St. Thomas and St. Bede's have the hardest run. Christchurch Boys have Stack, Selwyn, St. Bede's, Rangiora, Waimea. Christchurch Boys only has one real threat, and that is St. Bede's. Stack is looking okay because I've won the last couple of games. They're getting better and better every single time they play, but they had a terrible start to the season. But Christchurch Boys playing Stack this weekend. If they get through that, they're winning Selwyn, and they're going to win the Rangiora and the Waimea one. But that St. Bede's one is going to be a difficult one. Now, if Christchurch Boys go right through those 5 games, they're going to be sitting at 11-1. St. Bede's has to go through Timaru Boys, Shirley, Christchurch Boys, Nelson College, and Rangiora. St. Bede's, even though they beat St. Peter's from Auckland, they could still lose 4 of these games in a row too. Rangiora is the only for sure win. Timaru's going to be a pretty hard game. Shirley is also going to be a pretty hard game because both of those teams, Timaru and Shirley, have played really, really good rugby since the start of this season and had like a bit of ups and downs in terms of just singular games, but as a whole, they're pretty good. They're sitting right outside of their top 4 on 5 and 6, both of those teams. Because it goes Timaru, Shirley, Stack, and Christ College are the next 4 down. So it's not like these are far-fetched games where they're going to be pretty easy. It's like, no, it's going to be pretty hard for St. Bede's, and St. Bede's are going to be the ones that could actually fall out. Christchurch Boys got it easy, and St. Thomas have got a pretty hard one. Actually, not as hard as St. Bede's, but it is still hard because they got Marlborough Boys, they got Timaru Boys, they got Nelson College, they got the Ron Kelly game, and then they got Shirley. All those ones are hard, but I think the route in which St. Bede's is a little bit more tougher than that. And so something's going to happen between those two. The reason why that one was so important at the start of the week is that it set off the trend for those guys to go, oh shoot, Christchurch Boys just won. 1 point, may I say, 1 point. And all the other teams had to make sure that they won their game too, because Nelson College won against Shirley Boys by 1 point on the Tuesday, and everybody else had to win their games. Now that we're going into the next 5 weeks, where we got one game, then a gap for holidays, and then the last one's into the July and August. Those are going to be some hard pushed out games, and I was thinking about that too, because even in terms of the rankings, where we've got all these guys, like we got 3 teams from Nelson College who are ranked in the top 25, Christchurch Boys who's ranked top 25, St. Bede's who's ranked in the top 25, and also Christ College is the other one ranked in the top 25 as well. But then with Manurewa losing, they may fall out. St. Kennegans who have lost again, and they're going to be really pushed to the fact where they're going to fall out. If Otago Boys had won or come close to their game with Southland Boys, they would have got pushed up into the top 25, but they came away with a bad loss of 32-10, which is the game I want to, if someone's got it, can they send it to me, please, because I really want to watch that game. But we also got to watch out for all these other teams that are playing around that sort of bracket and area. Like St. Bernard's is another good one that's coming up. Wellington College, because they lost, are dropping back again. All these kind of things that are happening. It just makes it a lot harder for all these teams that are within that top 25 to stay in the top 25 as well as win their competition too. And it all does actually point back to the fact that every team in the country is trying to go for the top 4. And you got to win the South Island, you got to win your competition, you got to win the South Island to get to the top 4. And any one of these 4 teams from Nelson, St. Thomas, Christchurch Boys, and St. Bede's are all at that point where I think that they can win it, and they have to deal with the fact that they have to play John McGlashan or they have to play Southland Boys. But John McGlashan is the other one that I actually think is probably the best team on form right now in the South Island, but they have to think about that too. Winning their competition, then going into that kind of thing, going into that South Island competition is going to be another hard one. The other one is that with Hamilton Boys winning, obviously everyone's going to be looking at them as the number 1 team in the country, because Fielding, they had a draw, but Hamilton Boys, obviously at the top of their competition. Super 8's so short that you have no time for lulls within your season. You just have to get to the first game, and you just have to be a winner in every single game. You have no place to go, oh, we can drop a game. You can't drop a game. You just have no time to have a bad game, because you only have a finals, and that's it. You don't have a semis or anything like that. You just have a finals. But Hamilton Boys are at the top with New Plymouth, Palmy Boys, and also Hastings boys, and those are the top 4. And then the bottom 4 is Rotorua boys, Tauranga boys, New Plymouth boys, and Gisborne boys. That's the bottom 4. And I know it sounds bad that Rotorua are like outside of that top 4, but they're also a game behind. And Palmi's almost 2 games ahead. And also Gisborne's up 1 game, and New Plymouth is up 1 game. Palmy boys has only got Tauranga boys and Rotorua left, and then that's their season for Super 8 before they go into the Hurricane season. And then the other ones, Rotorua's got 4 games left. And I might be down in Rotorua again because they're playing Hastings, which is going to be another big one. But they got Hastings, Napier boys, New Plymouth boys, Palmy boys, and then New Plymouth boys. And Rotorua pretty much have to win all of them. They can't lose any more games. Hastings can't lose. Nobody is... Napier boys is 3-1. Palmy boys is 3-2. Hastings boys is 2-1. And then 2-1 for Rotorua boys. So like everyone's got this. There's this, I guess, pressure to win, and win every single round, and you pretty much have to take it half by half. I mean, if you look even if you look a half ahead, like you just have to win the halves. If you win your halves and you play it that way, I think that's more of the better strategy than trying to win the game. I think you have to plan it half by half, especially in the Super 8, because, I mean, it's just too much to ask that you focus on that full game with only 7 games that you play. Because I mean, like even like Auckland in a way is the same. When I mean in Auckland, in the 1A, like their top 4 is St. Peter's, Sacred Heart, Kelston, and Mags. But even in saying that and trying to make that top 4, some of these guys have these long roads of hard games that if you drop, like a lot of them have got 5 more games left. If you drop 2 of those games, you're missing out on the top 4. If you lose 1 game, your chances are gone already, and then your season's pretty much done. Then everyone's playing for individuals and trying to make rep teams. That's kind of how it works. But like that's kind of the other thing as well, is it's like, well, what happens then? You know, what happens then after those games? I mean, De La Salle is only a game away from Mags at 4, and Mags have Tangaroa College, Sacred Heart, Kelston Boys, St. Peter's, and De La Salle. Those are their last games. Like Mags, I mean, Tangaroa College beat Auckland Grammar, so Tangaroa College can upset some teams. But every team after that was Sacred Heart, Kelston Boys, St. Peter's, and and Dilworth School. Mags could potentially lose all 4 games towards the end of the season. This next week coming up against Tangaroa College could be their last win, because even Dilworth School have won some solid games, and Dilworth School is kind of one of those teams that are still trying to figure out what they're doing and figure out what they are, and they have some good flashes of stuff. Like, I mean, have you watched the game Dilworth School against against St. Kitts and also Kelston, they held them for so long. Especially Kelston one, they held them like first half. There was nothing in it for first half. They were both the same teams. It only came to like the end of the second half where Kelston ran in some quick tries because Dilworth just couldn't hold on. Now, if Dilworth figures out how to hold on, they can beat teams like Mags. They can beat teams like, like the De La Salles as well. I mean, they've got Sacred Heart, they've got Tangaroa College, they've got King's College, De La Salle and Mags. This is a Dilworth school. Dilworth school can run close to Sacred Heart. I think they're gonna beat Tangaroa College. They can beat King's College. I think that they can beat De La Salle College, and I think that they can beat Mags College. I don't think they will, but I think they can. Now it depends what school shows up, and this is where them as a school have to figure out what kind of team that they are and how their team functions from week to week and where their strengths are and how to figure out. Oh yeah, this is where we start pushing. This is usually the point where we start to fall, and they just need a reminder of energy to go, let's play this 10 minutes really strong. Reevaluate at 10 minutes and go, all right, guys, this is the second 10 minutes. Let's take this again. Keep it at the same level. Let's not lift it. Let's keep it at the same level, and then just keep applying pressure and pressure and pressure. Have those kind of things, and those are the kind of attributes that a lot of smaller schools that don't have a winning record. That's what they need to do. They need to have, they need to have games like that. They need to have games like that where communication. And this is where the thing where people tell you or tell players, all right, talk, and they just say talk. It means nothing. They mean talk. They go, oh yeah, talk, guys, talk. Like, yeah, but be specific. What that means is give energy. Tell your guys, let's lift our energies. Let's hold it where we are. Let's defend stronger. Let's push up faster. Say stuff like that. Don't just tell each other, talk. Like, be specific with what you're saying in your communication. Tell me where I am. Am I too far? Am I drifting? Tell me to pull in closer. Tell me to, things like that. Am I leaving too late? Tell me to push further. Things like that. Don't just say talk. But that's what that means. It means to give commands, give me some cadence on where I am, give me some guidance on where I need to be. Things like that. That's what that means. And Dilworth School is one of those schools. St. John's is like that too. Like, if you look at St. John's in Hamilton. St. John's in Hamilton, and I'm from Hamilton. I consider myself from Hamilton. I was born in Auckland, raised there for a little bit, but I consider myself Hamilton. They are supposed to be a basketball school. They were rivals to my school, Church College, the greatest basketball school of all time here in New Zealand. Have got the most titles on both boys and girls. Just a flex right there. Got nothing to do with what I'm saying, but it's just a flex. They were the rival schools for our basketball school. They're not a rugby school. They're really not a rugby school, never have really been a rugby school. They've had good years, but they've never been consistently good at rugby. We were always kind of second to Hamilton boys here in Hamilton. We would have our little battles against St. Paul's here every once in a while, then we'll change to somebody else, but we were always consistent and being the top in Hamilton, and we knew what it meant to win in this area, but we just couldn't quite get to Hamilton boys. St. John's right now are now that second team because I think that they're better than St. Paul's. But these boys need to understand that they're also at that level and not see Hamilton boys for the legendary school that they are, but for what they just are this year. Yes, they're also a top team, but you're also a top team. You can beat them. They need to hear that. They need to reevaluate every time they come to ruck. I don't care who that is. I'll just blow them out. I don't care who he is. I'm going to hit him in this tackle. I don't care who he is. I'm going to get up in his face in a line-out. I'm going to disrupt them at scrum time. They need to believe that, and they need to communicate to each other every single time they're on the field that we need to compete. They're not better than us. We're right there. We're with them. We're going back and forth if that's the case. Because I think if they had the game, they'll be back and forth. Rotorua boys had that same thing against St. John's is that Rotorua boys were lucky to get out of that game. Or else they could have lost to St. John's Hamilton early on 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. It was the same thing in St. John's, and that's the only loss that St. John's has had this season in the rankings, is that the only loss comes from Rotorua Boys, who's the number one team in the country at the time, had the Moaska Cup, and now that it's switched hands, everybody's going to be gunning for them. Everyone's going to go for Hamilton, St. John's included. And St. John's is going to move up into the rankings with their win of 57 over St. Peter's, which St. Peter's have got to work something else and figure out what's going on within their team, because that shouldn't be the score of that game. Now, with that, I guess, if you were to look at it really, you know that, like, even though they had a draw, I still think Fielding is not the best team in the competition, but I do think that they are better than St. Paul's. Now, that top four is going to probably remain Fielding, St. John's, St. Paul's, in whatever order that you want to, see it as, kind of thing. Fielding and St. John's still have to make up the game that they gave away, where everyone was sick. And then what's going to happen after that is that once they make up that game, so there's going to be a week where St. John's is going to have to play 2 games. And St. John's is going to have to travel to this game. So I think it's the 7th of July is the game that they make up with the one with Fielding, and then they're going to have to travel. I haven't looked to see what their second game is on the Saturday, but they better hope it's something like Master, like down in Rathkill or something like that, where they don't have to travel back and then travel somewhere else, because that's just going to really weigh on them. But that's going to be one of those games that sort of defines this competition. And if Fielding can hold them out, because the scores are pretty similar in terms of their points. Fielding's on 27 and then 25 apiece for St. John's and Hamilton. St. John's and St. Paul's Collegiate. And then Whanganui Collegiate's on 21. And so there's going to be a big fight for the finish, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to stay Fielding, St. John's, St. Paul's, and Whanganui Collegiate are going to stay the top 4 for this competition. Because I think Lindisfarne losing the other one against Francis Douglas. Francis Douglas now on 2 wins. Rathkill's got 1. St. Peter's only got 2. Wesley's got 3. Still not as convincing. I think if Whanganui didn't lose that game against Wesley, it would be a bit more convincing that Whanganui can get up there. But they still have a lot of work to do within their squad and in their team to fix things up. And it might not even be rugby issues. It might be other issues that are outside of that. But I'm going to go and see it because I'm going to be at Quad, obviously, today to watch the games. And also just to figure out what's going on with all those 4 teams that have come up. I'm really keen to see Christ College and Nelson College as well. Wellington, I get to see them again. Get to see them in person and see what comes out of those teams. Obviously, Nelson's probably the strongest one and the heavy favourites, but you still got to play the games. So upsets could happen. But was there anything else I want to talk about? Probably. Some of those smaller schools too. I don't know how many they were lost that game against Rosmini. St. Bernard's have got to come up. Please keep believing in your guys' selves, because 24-18 against Silverstream, you guys are right there. So you guys keep pushing through. Hopefully you guys get another win. What was the other ones that I liked? That Tamaki College one and Otahu. And then Botany only coming in after that. Botany and McLean's, which were both top of the table in that Pool B. Botany coming away, that was another good one I liked. Tamaki winning 31-5 over Otahu College, which I liked again. And the other pieces that I'm coming up with, I'm going to be doing a piece on, I talked about this before, but the schools that I would invite or that should go to Rugby by the Beach, which is the one in the Mount. And then the other one I'm doing right now is that I'm doing rep teams that are, I'm going to name, this is going to be my idea for the end of the year if Australia doesn't come or we don't go to Australia, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to be picking a New Zealand secondary school team with no year 12s. I'm going to pick, because I'm going to be picking my year 12 team, a Samoan team, a Tongan team, and then my high school top 200 team with all the other players that are left behind. And I think those 5 teams should have like a rep season at the end of the season if Australian that don't come down. I could do a Fijian team, but I think there'd be too much of a drop-off from the starting 15 to the bench and the rest of the squad kind of thing. That's why I haven't got that. And because there's also so many good players, I just thought, I'll put through my own high school top 200 team to cater for everybody else that are missing out on these spots. And so they'll be coming out this week as well. But that's all I've got. This is Herschel from High School Top 200. Send me all your questions and your queries, and also all I guess your theories on what you think is going to happen, who you think should be the number 1 team in the country. If you're thinking someone other than Hamilton Boys, you've got to be crazy, but you could convince me. So send them all through. Let me know what you think, or who should be in the top 25 in the rankings is another one. And have a look out for the quad tournament that I'll be at coming up. Come have a chat if you want. Come argue if you want. Have a debate over some teams, players, ranking, all that kind of stuff. Also, the top year 12s will be changing, and also the top 200 will be changing on the Tuesday and the Wednesday as well. All right, but that's me, Herschel Fruin, High School Top 200. Later, ball.